self-care queens. Welcome to another episode of She Cares series. Today I have with me Mara. And we're going to be talking about self-care, and really I'm excited about that. Hopefully after this we'll learn one or two things about you, about me, about self-care in general. So, what exactly does self-care mean to you, Mara?
Okay, self-care has changed a lot since I've had children. I used to think self-care was looking good. And since I've had children, I had to make that calculation of what can I do for myself and how much time does that take? And is it taking me away from the things I care more about? And I found that I care more about feeling good than I do about looking good.
I love that.
And now my children are grown. I have two teenagers, and I'm very aware of how I look so that I'm presenting some sort of understanding that, yes, I want to look good for the world, but I also don't want to do what is dictated by the world, especially from magazine covers, or our kids are online with YouTube and TikTok videos.
That's true.
And I don't want them picking up any sort of really toxic ideas about how to look.
I love that.
So self-care it's still sort of being dictated by forces outside of my own self, but it encapsulates this larger umbrella of who I am, because who I am is now being dictated by my children.
Okay.
So self-care involves taking care of my children as much as it does involve taking care of me.
Okay. So which one goes first? Which one is number one?
It has to be the mom.
It has to be the mom.
And that was a hard-learned lesson.
Yeah.
And I learned that through postpartum depression, which went on and on and on until I recognized I needed help. And even then, I didn't think there was much that could be done for me until my doctor, put everything aside, sat down and said, "Okay, what's up? You need help." So self-care became incredibly important. I wasn't doing it, and I got really sick.
Yeah.
And when the mom gets sick, the whole family gets sick.
The whole family gets sick.
So moms have to be first.
Definitely.
And it doesn't mean makeup and weighing a certain amount and skincare and all of that. That's all nice.
Exactly.
And I sort of have time now to get into it.
Because the kids are a bit older.
But it really had to do with managing anxiety so that I can sleep.
Yes.
And managing my weight levels so that I could have energy to do activities with my kids.
Absolutely.
Keep up with them, right?
Yes.
And now it is getting into looks because I have teenagers, and they're wondering about makeup. They're wondering about things like that.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a good thing to
No,
have
it's
yourself
absolutely
be dictated by your kids. But at least I'm running the show.
Yes,
right, for now.
exactly. You're
Right?
in control. You're in control, and you are changing your own narrative.
Yeah.
Nobody's writing it for you. You're writing your own narrative.
Exactly.
Pretty much. I love that.
And now it's going to shift because the children are teenagers. And it'll only be a few years until the oldest is off to university. And how many of us have to rediscover who we are once our role as parents has ended or it's starting to leave? But of course, by then we're in menopause. And self-care involves maybe balancing out those hormones,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. I also love how you present self-care in terms, especially when you talk about when you have little ones. Because a lot of time we see all over social media, we see all over the media about, when you have a little one and the step 1, step 2, step 3 of this is what you need to do, check this box. And it's it's absolutely rubbish.
I read it all. And I still fell into postpartum depression.
Exactly. So it's really about, and I love what you said, it's really about knowing and letting certain things go because it's a season for it.
Yes, a season for it.
A season for it. Because a lot of people, when they have little kids, they want to have a clean house. They want to be able to still look good.
Yeah.
They want to be able to still go to the gym 5 days a week. They want to be able to still make it career-wise and do all those things that society says we can do. But sometimes we gotta let certain things go.
And it's so funny because society tells you all of these things, but I don't know a single real person in my life. And I've been a parent of 3 countries. I've never once found anybody who has managed to be that person that society says we're supposed to be without significant help. Sometimes self-care means I need a night nurse.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
Like, insomnia is a real issue because you stayed up late at night for many years, maybe, especially if children back to
Absolutely,
back.
that's so true.
Sometimes self-care means letting go and not reading those magazines and not reading those blogs and not reading every single manual like I did. Maybe that was the issue right there. That guilt of saying I'm not good enough.
Exactly, exactly. That's someone else's standard.
Yeah.
That's someone else's standard, not yours. That's
So maybe
absolutely-
self-care starts with just thinking. Maybe it starts with you defining for yourself,
Absolutely.
which you have to find your people to do that. Right?
Absolutely. I'm still getting to that. Absolutely. So, how do you self-care? I know we talk about the overall, but how do you really self-care beyond, the makeup and beyond the,
Yeah.
how do you truly self-care? I guess that's still.
Do you know what I did? And I picked this up well over a decade ago when I was part of my regime for getting over postpartum depression, and then it fell into my next child, which I did the same thing and it worked well. I started prioritizing sleep. And what I had to do, this is interesting, was I stopped doing any kind of work when it was time to make dinner, and then we sit down, and then after dinner, I do nothing. I used to always try to fit in something, clean up the house, get ready for the next day,
Exactly.
finalize some reports, some work. So over a decade ago, I stopped doing that. And it's funny because now obviously I have teens and I should be able to get a little something done. I actually can't. I'm so into this habit of dinner's done, I'm free.
This is it. Do it tomorrow.
That's it. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
absolutely amazing.
So, and then I have this afternoon. I can do, not an afternoon, but I have evenings free now.
Really?
And I do nothing. That is not planned out. I'll just sit there. I'll veg. I'll hang out with my fam. I'll go for a walk with my kids or by myself. That extra free space kind of, it falls into sleeping at night because I've had such a calm evening.
Yeah.
And then I sleep at night.
Yes.
Much better.
Absolutely.
And then the other big thing, I just started exercising, walking, and very low key. I ended up having to hire a trainer to stick with it. But I would tell the trainer, this isn't about weight. This isn't about looking a certain way. Now, of course, in the back of my head, I'm like, no, I want to look really good. Yeah, I want to learn that. But I needed to make it the focus.
Yes.
The focus is all about how
The
I
intention
feel, how I
behind it.
feel.
Yes. Yes.
And I managed to find that is so important
Yes.
for me. I have other health issues as well. I have an invisible disability. I have clinical migraines. And they're inherited from my mother and my grandmother. So there's a lot to unpack there, but I need to keep myself balanced for these migraines because then I can't do anything at all.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So it really is about exercising and giving myself that free space.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the biggest problem that all humans have right now. We're trying to pack in so many things.
Because that's what society is telling us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And again, there isn't a single real person who would argue against that.
Exactly.
So why is there such a gap between what we're reading about how we're supposed to be and what we really are saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. You know what? I really love this conversation because I've always talked about how self-care is beyond just everything we talk about,
Yes.
but really understanding who we are, especially even our body in terms of chronic disease and family history.
Yes.
And you did mention now how you have this invisible, illness that nobody can see,
Yeah.
but it actually does control your life,
Well, and I have seen it.
and you've seen it.
I've seen my mother suffers. See, I'm blessed because we now have triptans, which work with migraines, but my mother didn't have those.
Yeah.
And she was trying to be that person
That
in all
strong
the
woman.
magazines.
Yes, tell her to be.
Full-time career,
Yeah.
full-time mom. She's
Yeah.
making it to all the volleyball games, all the track races, and still baking brownies for the Girl Scouts, And I saw how much it took out of her, and she was in and out of clinics. There was nothing for her to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've learned from seeing her. And then when my migraines began hitting, my mom took me aside and explained it to me. That's a massive hole-in-one. I think of all the women out there who don't have a mother, a good mother, to sit down and say, I know what you have. I know what you're going to have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely. So that's really self-care, knowing that already, and knowing you have this thing that inevitably you will always have.
Yeah.
You know, but learning how to manage that, learning how to communicate what you just communicated, because a lot of people don't even know how to communicate what you just did when it comes to having a chronic disease. You know, to me, that is self-care.
Yeah.
That's learning about exactly the root of the course and going deep and finding the solution to it and knowing exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because you cannot care for something you don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So knowing that, I feel that's amazing that you did mention that. One other question for you, because I kind of know you. How do you self-care, especially when you also, because you have a traveling husband as well for so long.
Yeah.
And we call this the single, happily married single women.
Yeah. The married single
Single,
mom.
very single mom. Yeah. So how do you self-care in terms of that? Because you're taking on the role of both parents a lot of times. You're taking on the role of yourself as well, and as a person, as for your children, for the community as large. Especially now with schools, we know there's so much going on also in schools and all that stuff. How do you really balance that? I never use the word balance because nobody can ever balance it. How do you blend it?
How do you reconcile it?
How do you reconcile it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially as a single mom sometimes.
Yeah, and remembering, I think that ties into a process I'm going through right now. Trying to remember who I truly am, because you get so lost.
Yeah.
Especially with more than one child. Well, even one child, you can get lost in who you are as a person. Because I started this whole program out saying that I am defining self-care through my children.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But on the other side of the coin, yes, I need to remember who I am. When I did have postpartum depression a decade ago, my husband was actually very instrumental into getting me back into performing arts, which I had always been involved in.
Yeah.
And I hadn't reached out to do that. And that was massively, massively nerve-wracking. But it was 100% it. It was like someone lifted the lid on this bursting energy that needed to just explode, right? And as long as I was in that situation, I was always able to find somebody within the theater community who was going to help me so that I could find myself again in the performing arts, remember those talents I have, remember that joy that I get. And I was lucky. Theater arts is a wonderful place for families, so I could bring them into that.
Yeah.
And since we've moved to Cape Town, I've struggled with that, and I've had to but at least I know this about myself, so I've had to find my own way into performing again. And I'm still struggling with that. But what has happened is that I take my performances into the house. So I'm singing while I wash dishes, and it's really cute because in a lot of ways, again, getting back into that whole sense of self-care involves, the children as well.
Yeah.
Now the children are used to seeing their mom singing all the time.
And happy.
And happy. So they'll come in and bop with me.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they're with themselves and you see them singing and they feel very free to do that. And that just takes the happiness up like 100 notches.
Yes.
And I know my family feels good when I sing because I feel good. So reclaiming those inner parts of me that I maybe had to set aside while I was momming so hard that there wasn't any space for it, bringing them back into the fold again.
I love that.
Has been so important.
I love that. That makes so much sense.
And I think it was back there.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's who you are. That's who you are.
Yeah.
That's yourself. That's who you are. Yes.
And being free, unabashed about doing that whenever I feel like it. Regardless of what people say, or if they think it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it, and my family's happy with it, and
absolutely.
So
I
finding
love
that one thing that makes me and then making sure the family is on top of it, and that they care about it, and they like to hear it. And then again, my husband pushed me into performing arts when I was having such a hard time.
Yeah.
So that means having a partner, even though he can't be around to support all the time, at least there was that push to
Yes.
say he knew. My partner knew. I needed that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. There's nothing like that. Having that support system
Right.
that helps you, and knowing it and tapping into that support system and
Yeah.
accepting, because sometimes as women we don't accept the support sometimes.
Yeah. Or we don't accept it when our husband tells us to.
Exactly.
Whatever,
Oh,
you know.
You didn't carry the baby for 9 months.
You're not here every night. You're not doing the night wake. Things like that.
Yeah.
Accepting it from the husbands can be really, really hard. Yeah, but having somebody who knows you, who you trust, to say, listen, maybe you need to get back and do these things to make you happy.
That's absolutely amazing, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So this is my last question for you, which I always ask. What is your superpower?
That's always such a hard one because you always think of the people who probably wouldn't agree with you. Like I could say my superpower is math. There's probably my old math teacher that's like, yeah, whatever. I've never known her to know math. What are you talking about? But I would say that part of my superpower is, it's always sort of cringy. Well, empathy.
Empathy. I love that. Empathy.
But I feel like saying that my superpower is empathy is the opposite. I'm supposed to be saying. But empathy works for me better than, for example, listening. I'm a big talker, and I struggle with listening. So empathy also means believing in somebody, right? So if you're not going to sit down and have the ability to listen, then you better at least accept what the person is saying to you as honest, and then believe that person, and then work with that person as they become friends, understanding the spaces is what they are, believing somebody when they talk to you, and that's what they're saying. So that, and then maybe singing. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that brings the best out of you. So, and you change the world. You make people happy.
Well, three babies over there, teens, that need to hopefully will benefit from my superpowers of empathy and singing, and I'll make them happier in this world.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank you very
That
much,
was
Lizzie.
so amazing. Honestly, it was so amazing, so good.
Thank
I
you.
learned more things about you today.
No way.
Yes, I did. There you have it for another episode of She Cares series. I hope you pick up 1 or 2 things that you're going to apply into your lives and see self-care in a different light. And I hope to see you next time.